All right. We're good. My mic is on. Awesome. What is cracking? What's popping? What's shaking? It is another episode of the comic cinematic universe with Chill and Grace. I can't talk today. Sorry.
Oh, that's
Uh,
okay. All right.
but I'm here. Chill is here. Grace, what's up, Grace? How you doing?
I'm good. You know what I just realized? Last week was our episode right before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
We could have dressed up and we didn't. And we completely missed it.
Man.
Dang. Like, I thought of it, I think literally maybe towards the end of the show or once we signed off. I'm like, dude, like, we could have so dressed up, but it is what it is. But apart from that, everything's
Did
lovely.
you have a costume? Who were you this year?
This year, I was actually just a cheerleader this year.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was waiting for work to like announce a theme, and then they said a theme, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my own thing anyway.
What was the theme, out of curiosity?
It was Scrabble.
Scrabble? Like the game?
Yes.
Wow.
Hmm.
What do you dress up as? Letters?
You wear black, and then they give you letters.
That's lame.
It was actually okay. So, like, they had a contest for work,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the idea. And it was actually cute. Like, they took a picture, and it spelled out this cool thing. So, honestly, it was pretty like creative, but it sounds dry when you just say it. You know what I mean?
I want everybody to take note that, like, Grace, she was just like, the work, they did their own thing and I just chose to do mine. So I'm really taking that as it wasn't it over there.
I still held my letter. Like they gave me a letter, and I was like one of the letters that aren't used. So I was kind of off to the side of the picture, and like you
Mm-hmm.
don't see my face, but I contributed. It was
Okay.
like I'm sorry, the picture and like the concept, I get it because it was for like the competition. Super cute, very creative. We have a shot at winning,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of like someone who is like anxiously waiting to hear the theme, is it superheroes? Is it villains? Like they asked for ideas, and you better believe I gave them like a list of ideas because I do,
Mm-hmm.
and so. Yeah.
Was
Oh, like we're
wait,
just
wasn't
different.
last year superheroes because there were two, you were one of two Spider-Man there, yes?
I mean, yes, but it's like no one else did it.
Mm.
It was just us. That
Mm.
was it. And so I was really hoping this year was going to be a little different, but it was cool because like basically it was like a sports theme upstairs with the trainers, and it was cool. People were in like football jerseys. There was another cheerleader, so like the vibe was felt for sure, you know. And then we could easily switch into just all black and take the picture, so it worked out well.
Shout out to the other Spider-Man, Joe. What's up? How's it going? Hope
Hello,
all is
Joe.
well. All right. So game plan for today. Today is going to be another filler. We wait. Hold on. Where's my light? You know what I'm saying? Hold on.
Come on.
All right.
Oh,
There it is. There I'm
shiny,
at. I'm good.
glowing.
But the game plan. It is another filler. We're going to be chatting about episodes 2 and possibly 3 in of Daredevil. And before I even got on with Grace, before we went live, I put the title as possibly 3 just because I watched 2 all the way through and I kind of skimmed through episode 3. And then Grace just told me that she watched most of 3, not all of 3. So we're going to get through what we get through when it comes to episode 3. Is that cool,
I'm like
Grace?
so happy. I feel like we're like literally as you're speaking, I was like, wow. So perfect. You know what? It could be like a 2.5er, and then next week
Yeah,
we'll do 4, and we'll do 5, and we'll do like the quick snippets that we didn't get through of 3. You know what? We'll
sure.
keep it light.
We'll keep it light. We're gonna talk about 2 for sure. Just because episode 2, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm just gonna skip right to the hallway scene. We're gonna get back to it eventually, but this is what I wanted in She-Hulk right here.
Okay, so you're talking about the hallway scene at the very, very, very end,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yes.
Dude, okay. So I put like I had like my notes when I was watching it, and I literally thought of you because obviously we had comments when it came to the scene in She-Hulk, which you can definitely say like, oh, this is kind of a parallel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's like so different. And I think this is such a great example of how like a situation is felt with different tones depending on whose project it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we got She-Hulk fight scene, but in Daredevil, it's over.
Right.
that's a no-go. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it was really cool because, like I said, like I really have only seen some of episode one. Like these episodes we're going through, like they're familiar, but like I wouldn't have been able to talk about them
Yeah.
if I hadn't rewatched them, and so it's just it's cool. It's cool to see like this scene the way it is in like the show where all of that is explored, like just like the brutality
Sure.
and these level of fight scenes. So I definitely was thinking of you when this came up, and I'm so happy that that's kind of where we're starting.
Like whoever wrote She-Hulk, right? Like say they arranged it to a point to where we're gonna have a brighter situation with Daredevil and She-Hulk, and it's gonna be comedic and everything like that, and then it gets to the point to where they're about to make their move in the warehouse, and from there I'm just like, okay, we're going to take a little break from lighthearted comedy and we're going to go dark. We're going to go into episode 2 of Netflix's Daredevil here. So, Matt Murdock peels off. He's like, I got this. He goes into a dark hallway. Seems familiar. And then, boom, back to the light comedy as She-Hulk just smashed her way through there. So, this, what we got here in this episode of Daredevil, that's all I wanted. I just wanted a little bit of that. Like, he could have maybe hit 2 or 3 dudes and then She-Hulk came in, but I don't know. That's what I was kind of hoping
Well,
for.
something. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I feel like if I either would want it all or like kind of how we got, which was like it's like you said, it was like the leading into it. You're like, oh, okay, I know what's gonna happen, and then she just kind of comes in and like takes over.
Right.
I feel like I would have wanted it as it is, like either don't give it or give it all the way. Like I feel like I would have felt not I want to say worse about it, but I think I would have felt differently if say we saw a snippet of it and then it just like got cut off. I don't know. In my head, I'm thinking I would have loved all or nothing, but I know what you mean.
And we got nothing,
And we
basically.
got nothing. And I think it's fine for like She-Hulk's show, because I think if I would have just seen like a little bit of the fight, but not everything that we know that Daredevil could do, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I would have felt more off-putted by that. I think.
Random question before we dive into this episode. Like,
Mm-hmm.
with all of that being said, and being that this series, what you said, came out in 2014, 2015, so time has passed. It's been maybe like 7 years since maybe they started shooting the She-Hulk episodes. So do you think the years are catching up to the actor Charlie Cox and he's just like, I'm cool on the stunts, or was it just like, no,
Oh
we'll just
no.
hold off on that?
I think let's hold off on that because we know we're gonna get a show. We know like the storyline that's connected with Daredevil Born Again. We know we're getting like what 18 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more about just hold on.
Just
Just hold on.
wait.
Like, that's why
Just
that's what I'm
wait.
saying.
Another year, and it's already past the 1 year mark with Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? So now we
That's
just
what I'm
have to
saying.
wait another year.
I think that's what it is. That's what I'm saying. I kind of like the idea of them not giving it to us at all, just
Mm-hmm.
because it's like we're demanding it. You know what I mean? Like that's why I think I would have felt like it wasn't. I would have had more problem. I think if they gave us just a little bit of it, but not 100%. So I think they're just saving it for the show. I think Charlie Cox is fine. He
Okay.
can warm up. He'll be all right.
He's still in tip top.
We got stunt doubles for that either way in
Mm.
case he's tired, but it's yeah, I think they're just holding off for Daredevil Born Again, which is where we're gonna see this level of like brutality and just like aggression in the fight scenes, so yes, that's why I think watching this I'm just getting excited for that's around the corner.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
I'm like riled up because we're talking about the fight scene right away.
It was a good scene. That honestly, if it wasn't the first episode, it was this episode that sold me on Daredevil just in general.
Oh yeah, like just the level of a fighter. Like I think, hold on, I'm trying to see where did I write? I made like a note because I'm like, when I watch these, I'm kind of writing my notes along the way. I feel like we're making our way backwards, so I'm just gonna mention it now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the end of the rooftop scene when they have the Russian dude, and he's like inserting like the blade in this very particular spot that Claire is telling him to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I wrote down, I was like, Batman kid never. And then he starts asking, where is he? And so then for me, I was like, oh my God. It's like such a Batman parallel, but different.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of a single project, and I just might not be, it may just not be fresh in my head, but where we see Batman do this kind of torture. Because we've seen him take, bad guys up on a roof, drop them, ask them information, but like, have we seen something like this?
Batman, just along with, I would say not the non-killing aspect. He's not much of a torturer as well, and it was a shock to see, uh, in Batman v Superman, like the intro to Batman, he like burned like a bat brand on that one inmate, and I was just like, that's different because Batman doesn't really do that. He'll beat people to a pulp, but like he doesn't really go into like the torturing aspect, So
Oh, he walks the fine line, though. He
sure,
does. Oh,
sure.
he walks the fine line. Like, I would definitely say, like, I've had these conversations with my partner who's like a really huge Batman fan. And, like, Batman's thing is like he doesn't kill people, but it's like sometimes the things he does is actually worse. And I feel like the branding does actually fall in line with that. And obviously, it does depend on like what comic run you're looking at, but like
Mm-hmm.
it can get that brutal. And a lot of the times, like there's things because I read a lot of Batman comics, but
Mm-hmm.
because Harley Quinn is in them. And so like there's some that I can think of where he's kind of going on this rampage and he's brutally beating up people that are just kind of in the way of the fire,
Mm-hmm.
but not actually the catalyst of whatever's going on. And so he leaves like this like line of just beat up people, like not just beat up, but like you said, to a pulp, and they're not even part of the fight. There's a level of like hostility, aggression that I think you see in um, Daredevil as well, but just a little differently. But I'm just saying, I think that torture is definitely in the realm of these heroes.
Well, then
Within
let
means,
me ask you
within
this.
means.
Let me ask you this then. Like, say if it comes down to it, this scene on the rooftop of Daredevil inserting the blade into a certain part, this type of tactic to get information. Does the Dark Knight Batman in the interrogation room with the Joker, is that in that same realm?
I think it's like a little bit. They're using similar means to get the same thing that they want, which is information,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and I mean, in like the Batman Dark Knight scene, like he's throwing around the Joker and like tiles are falling off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's my question exactly that I was asking. It's like they are very comparable heroes, right? And they use these kind of questionable means to kind of get what they need. But I haven't seen, at least not like cinematically or anything like on film, where Batman is doing something like this that we see Daredevil doing with like inserting something into like the cranium into a specific spot to like
Right.
just, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was my question because I don't think I've been able to think of something. The closest thing would probably be that, or I think the earlier scene where he's dropping this one guy from the roof, so that's what I was curious about because it's in the same realm and I think it's very comparable,
I think Batman has the upper hand in the way that he doesn't have to do that, being that his his uniform is of like the Batman, and in that suit is pretty much intimidating in itself in comparison to see someone dressed in black Under Armour, black pants, and a scarf over his eyes. It's like, I'm not about to tell you anything, fam. Like, you look like a regular human being. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna tell you anything.
I could so see that. Like, I see what you're saying. I mean, not just like, I mean, Batman has become like a symbol in Gotham. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's like we see in, I guess, the most recent like incarnation of the Batman, which is the one with Rob Patton. Rob Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson. Yep.
Um, and it's like it's the scene where you just see like the symbol flashing in the sky, and you see the effect of the entirety of Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you actually see the bat, it's like whatever you want, bro. Like
Right.
it doesn't take very much. You're right. It's very different seeing say Matt Murdock. So it's like I think they're both capable of such things, but
Yeah.
like you said, maybe Batman just doesn't have to get to that degree
Right.
very often, but he's willing to.
Sure. I like that.
Oh, I love
So,
this.
episode two of Daredevil. It starts with Matt Murdock after the fight scene of the last episode. He's badly wounded. He is found in a garbage can by this boy who ends up bringing in Claire the doctor. Now, when it comes down to Claire, I mentioned the last time we spoke about Daredevil in that episode. I talked about there being certain characters being tied to different shows, and Claire happens to be one of those characters. So this is her introduction into the Netflix Marvel universe.
You did mention that last time, and I think you said she's one of those like anchors, right? That was kind of used throughout the other Netflix series for Marvel.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's very cool. Which is the project that she's, or is it multiple that she's kind of connected to?
She's in all of them.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, because like again, this is all going to come down to proximity, and all of this, including Hell's Kitchen, is in New York, and every one of these stories happened in New York, and she just happens to be a doctor to where someone's always going to get hurt, no matter if it's in the Iron Fist or if it's Luke Cage or Jessica Jones. Somebody's getting hurt, and she just happens to be there to play doctor. So she's been in, I think, every single series.
That's, I feel like this to me is similar to this new phase of Marvel where we're seeing like different perspectives of either the world of heroes, kind of like the insurance comments and things like that, and as well as like the back end stuff, like the people who have to kind of deal with the aftermath of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's funny because you think about it, and it's like you said, like she's in the line of all of these things because she's a nurse in the ER,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just imagining that like the doctors of places like Gotham and in New York, right? Like MCU New York just
Mm-hmm.
hate the Avengers because they're constantly having to deal with people running through with like injuries and all those things.
Well, now, kind of off topic. Now that we're talking proximity, uh, Batman v Superman made Metropolis to be right across the river from Gotham City. So like, uh, they can do a lot in terms of proximity. Um, James Gunn could do a lot in terms of proximity, in terms of linking a few projects together, being that they're that close together with with everything, you know. So I'm curious just to see what DC does with that.
I mean, and I'm sure they'll play with it soon because I think they've started to build like a foundation of a world
Mm-hmm.
that actually looks really cool.
Yeah.
Finally, like a really solid win for DC. And so I feel like that's something that they will probably play with as we go forward for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so Daredevil, he's injured. Claire brings him up to the apartment. It's about to call the police, but he wakes up out of, because he was knocked out for a time. So he woke up just to say no cops, no hospitals or anything, and then he passes back out. He then awakes. I think even in that moment before that I just mentioned, his mask was off. So Claire sees who he actually is. She doesn't know who he is by name. And then from here, he wakes up, and the Russians that were, I guess, in the original first episode, they're after him. So like, I kind of like this scene of like initially we kind of get a taste for his senses in the first episode, but then in this episode, he's able to hear, smell, and I don't even know what else. Like for somebody that's three floors beneath him, you know. So that kind of added to like the lore of Daredevil.
Yeah, and speaking in the census too, I feel like it also shows like how badly beat up he was because I don't know which part that he woke up because there's a couple parts where he wakes up, knocks down all those things, but he's trying to leave, right? He
Mm-hmm.
stands up and tries to leave, and he's walking where the door is not, and she's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, the exit is this way," and that's kind of a red flag, and just understanding how disoriented he is
Yeah.
because that's not something that I mean, like you said, like he can smell the cologne of a man, like three stories above him, you know, like, so I think that that was such a cool way for us to see just how disoriented he was and how knocked down that he was, because then immediately after, or not so long after, we see just like the insanity that is his powers, because he's talking about the colonial. Yeah, you'll smell it in just a little bit when he comes down, and it's cool because for people like me who didn't really dig deep into the Netflix series until now, really, coming from watching him in She-Hulk and seeing kind of like a similar scan that he does for the buildings, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like counting the guys, you know, all those things. I think it was really cool. And we were kind of playing the role of Claire, because Claire is just like, how is a blind man? You know, like she's trying to make sense of all of it.
Right. Um, yeah, and she made it clear because in her quote unquote checkup with him, she was like, "Yo, your pupils are not responsive, so either you're blind or you just have a bunch of other issues, you know." And I think he said it may be a little bit of both, jokingly, but it's just like you said, her perspective is ours in terms of if we were there. It's like how is a blind man able to move the way he moves, you know, and if anything, why has he been beat up to the point to where someone now is possibly looking for him? And I'm sure she was probably just, I don't want to say weirded out, but just surprised. And like initially after the visit from the cop, and then the cop is going down the stairs, he is borderline imitating a scene from, have you ever seen American Psycho with Christian Bale?
No.
No. Okay. Well, Christian Bale is crazy in this movie, and there's a scene to where he's chasing somebody down a staircase, but like instead of like following after the person, he is like kind of aiming whatever weapon he was just to drop on that person. So them kind of bringing that here, but now we're taking eyes out of the equation. He's basing his aim off of what he's hearing in this staircase. Now, when it comes down to staircases, I would imagine this to be maybe like the hardest the hardest place to aim for anything, especially for Matt Murdock, just because um, just kind of with my experience in music and everything like that, I know staircases to be heavily uh, are known to be heavily reverberated, meaning that like you're gonna get a whole bunch of echoes in such a small space. So it's kind of hard to kind of tell where something is, but he himself is still kind of able to listen through all of that to get his aim spot on to actually hit the guy with the fire extinguisher.
When you said, in my experience, I thought you were going to say, you know, aiming for people
Yeah,
on
aiming down
staircases.
staircases, dropping
It's
things,
harder than the looks
spitting on people.
test. No, it's wild. I feel like this is such a great episode of just showcasing. I mean, the first episode did it really well already, but even more so with, you know, his. I mean, I'm just gonna say how She-Hulk says his echolocation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just insane, like how he's basically able to drop a map in his head that goes beyond what we're able to see with our eyes. And in addition, you get like the element of enhanced smell, because I feel like that's an element that I never really focused on, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
we even really touch upon too much. Like obviously his other senses are just elevated, period.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I honed in very much on just like the hearing, you know?
Yeah.
But even something like that is amplified to this kind of a degree. And we see it in the flashbacks, right? That initially when he woke up after his accident, like
Mm-hmm.
it was overwhelming how loud everything was,
Right.
right? It was a very sad scene because when he's really coming to terms with realizing the fact that he cannot see,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and now he's getting all this overwhelming feedback because his senses have been immediately elevated. And so I think it was a really cool side by side, because obviously in this episode we're going very deeply back and forth from present to flashback scene.
Yeah. And I kind of like that they're bringing the flashbacks here specifically in this episode, just because of even in the condition that he's in. We kind of talked about his dad before and how he's a fighter, and he kind of gave that like, I guess, that institution of like never stop fighting, and like we see it here, even when it comes down to the point to where his dad may have lost that, let's say, quote unquote moral compass, and then his son maybe just kind of reminded him like he was supposed to throw a fight, but then after hearing what his son said, he's like, you know what, my son's right, and you know what, I'm gonna actually try to win this fight. I'm not gonna try to lose on purpose, and then I'm gonna get out of Dodge, you know. So, I kind of like that added element to this episode.
And it's such a complicated episode in that sense too, because it's not an easy decision, right? Like he initially takes, well, he first doesn't want to take the money.
Mm-hmm.
The guys are like, think of your family, think of your kids, so he ends up saying yes.
Yeah.
But obviously it's like him as a fighter, like he has these values, and values that he's obviously shared with Matt. And he's having to compromise them to put food on the table. You know, like you get the scene where Matt is
Don't mind
asking
me.
the
Keep
cat.
going. I'm listening.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Where Matt is asking like, "Oh, do we have enough money for the rent and things like that?" And that's not really something that kids should be really even aware of at his age. So it gives you an idea of just kind of the financial situation that they're in. So even if he did take the money and lose the fight, like as a parent, you understand the tough choices that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, like that last moment with Matt, and they're kind of just talking about all the things that they've talked about when it comes to their moral compass, their values, like being a fighter, period. And ultimately, he decides to. I love the way he worded it. It's like, I want my son, like, just once to hear them, like, scream my name.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it means that much to his son because we see it happen. We know he knows exactly what that's going to lead to, him not losing the fight in the fifth round,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But he does it anyway, just because he knows, one, that his son's going to be okay, because at the last second he changes his bet, so he knows his son's going to be like financially okay. But it's just, it was such a good backstory. It was kind of like a B plot, but because of what it serves, it's almost like these two like back and forths can easily be considered like the main plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Say with that backstory, like we didn't get specific on to who ended his dad's life, but we know exactly who it is. We know it's coming just because that's how the story went in the comics and in previous I would say movies, but really the previous movie of Daredevil. But I feel like it would have given us more if, say, initially in that moment, like he's in the locker room changing and he's unwrapping his wraps, and the door opens. We see a light, and he knows who it is, but we don't get anything. But it would have been cool if we got a silhouette of a big bald dude, you know?
I think that would have been cool. I think that would have been great because it's like, not everyone's a comic book reader, so maybe they wouldn't have really been seeing where things are pointing,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the decision to not do that, I think, was actually correct because
Okay.
I feel like it would have pulled away even just a little bit from what we're currently seeing, which I think is important. You know what I mean? Like the moment. Because I feel like we're talking about the same scene. Like he just won the fight. He's in the locker room. And before he does like turn to leave, he takes a second just to hear them like screaming like Murdoch, Murdoch, like he kind of just takes that in for a second, and then we know what happens. The next scene is like he gets killed, So I just feel like I think it was the right decision to not put that in, just to let that scene serve for the weight that it kind of carries, But yeah, I like what you're saying though.
I think the last thing that I want to bring up in terms of that scene, and it's one of those, I guess, quote unquote Tom Holland Spider-Man moments to where I'm bringing up pop culture references, to the point to where, well, let me ask you, have you seen Pulp Fiction?
I've seen Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Pulp Fiction. It's been a while, but I've seen it.
Okay, so Bruce Willis's character is pretty much the same character as Matt Murdock's dad, right? But Butch, as soon as he won, he got out of Dodge. He didn't even take any time to take his wraps off. And in that moment, for Matt Murdock's dad, he's over here like chilling in the locker room, thinking the consequences weren't even gonna be there. But you knew you were supposed to throw the fight, so why are you even wasting your time in the locker room? You should have been out the door with your boxing trunks, just finding a way to get out, just so you can make it either to your son or just get out of town, just so you can make your money, just to make yourself disappear. Being that you've kind of arranged for I forgot who he left the message for, but he arranged for somebody to take care of Matt, you know? So, I don't know. I think him kind of getting caught up like that, I hate to sound cruel, but it may be his fault.
Well, this is the thing. It's like I see what you're saying, but he did everything to make sure that Maddie was set up, that he was going to be taken care of financially. He'd be fine. Someone would be watching over him. That end was tied up for him because he knew, by not giving up the fight, like there was a target on his back. So I think it's not that he didn't know there was a danger lurking. I think it's that he had already come to terms with it and knew that was going to happen even before, like obviously from the moment he decided he was just going to knock the guy out. And I think for him, obviously he couldn't go get Maddie because then he'd be like in danger as well. So that was not an option. So I think the only alternative would be to, get out of Dodge, but I don't think he'd want to be running, because that's not part of like the fighter, like spirit, the mentality, that he instills into Maddie in what he kind of dies on. You know what I mean? Like, I think for him, he just knew it was going to happen. So that's why he's just kind of living the moment. That's why he pauses too, like to just enjoy what's happening in the crowds before he walks away into what he knows will probably be his last night,
Okay. I guess. I don't know. I think he should have got out of there, but that's just me.
You know what it is? It's kind of like in a scary movie where you're just like, idiot, like, just go. Or like when people are like grasping for stuff and they grab a banana when like the butcher knife is right there, like it's like, it's on you, dude.
Yeah, like door opens. If all I have is like a punch, like my boxing glove, I'm throwing something. If I'm a fighter, I'm gonna die fighting, not just turn around, just be like, you got me. Like, I'm not gonna be on that. Nah. But anywho, back to the story of Matt Murdock. We're done with Daddy Murdock, I think, for the moment. Where were we?
Okay, so we kind of went over like just the extent of his like injuries, because I think it's cool to highlight this before we get into that fight scene that we talked about in the beginning. So he has 2 to 3 broken ribs. He has a puncture wound, potential concussion, and even with all these things, right? When he realizes that there's someone in the building, he gets up and he's ready to kind of do what he has to do, right? So he's able to knock down the guy, the Russian, and then this is where they take him up to the roof, and that's kind of the scene we left off on.
Yeah, and that's the scene we I guess we started with. So, on the roof, he does the eye torture thing. You know what I'm saying, with help from Claire, because Claire's just like, no, right over here. That's the sweet spot.
She really gets into it. Like, she was all just like, hey, this is beyond what I agreed to. And then he's like, what did you think you were getting yourself into? And now she's just like, right there, dude. Right there. Go through there. Push through here. It's like real quickly she got into she knew her role. She knew what the assignment was.
But even with her knowing the assignment was, I think it was even just too much for Matt Murdock, because I think he got grossed out because the guy wasn't talking whenever he was doing what he was doing. And I feel like if that were me, I'm squeamish to where if I'm just like, and then I was like, I would have gave up. It's like, he's not talking, And I think that's where it went. It was just like, all right, this isn't working. I'm actually about to throw you over the edge.
I feel like it was all together. That was perfect. And this is the scene where I was like, dude, Batman could never. Like, it was just, it was wild. But, there during that whole like back and forth, like I think what they do draw out, and it is a continuation from episode 1, is the idea that they have a huge trafficking ring that's basically set up right in the heart of like Hell's Kitchen, right? And it's basically like they said, like, you can save this boy, but we're gonna take another one. You can kill me, but there's someone gonna be in my place. So it really does highlight how this has spread and
Mm-hmm.
how ingrained, like how, the hold, I guess I could say, like, is what I'm looking for, like the hold they have on Hell's Kitchen, you know, for them to kind of talk about it in that way.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the rest of the seasons, but I'm sure it's going to continue to play a role. So I think that's it's cool that we were able to get so much of this information just based off him trying to get like the next thing of where is this boy, you know?
Um, but let me ask you. Actually, no, never mind. I lost it. I had a question. Like you brought up something, and I was like, "Ooh, I want to ask her that," but I forgot. I think it has something to do with Claire. Oh, it is. It is something with Claire. Claire, um, kind of standing there and kind of hearing what this mobster's saying, this mobster cop is saying, and kind of almost validating everything that Daredevil has told her. Uh, it's come to the point to where no, did I lose it again? Damn it, I lost it again. All right, I'll
You
figure
gotta
it
start
out.
writing this down.
I gotta write down my questions when I get it. Okay.
Man, I was a little excited. Okay, that's all right.
What was it? Continue, please.
Okay, let me just see. Okay. So let's wrap up I think the story with um Matt and Claire, and then we can kind of briefly just talk about the Foggy and Karen like C storyline that's going on in the background, just because it's going on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But Claire, this is kind of, we talked about this. Claire's talking about how she's aware of this guy in the Black Mask that's been saving
That's
people.
what it was. That's what it was. Thank you. Continue. I
There we
wanted to
go.
bring that up.
Write it down before I continue. Damn. So yeah, so she's talking about how there's a man in a black mask that, you know, has brought in three guys with like 9 broken bones in total, saved this woman from being attacked in an alley, and then multiple and multiple other cases. And this is the reason that she helped him initially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, like they don't really have a name for him just yet. Like, and even in like the, I think the titles, it says Black Mask Guy or
Yeah.
something like that when he speaks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So um you know that there's like, although it's not like Batman, right? Like Batman, like at this, well, at least where we've seen him in his storylines, like his symbol is known, and there's a, it's like a tremble throughout Gotham when it appears. I feel like his is kind of growing. You know what I mean? Like people are in talks about this guy in the Black Mask, like the Russians. In episode 3, we see like the newspaper people like talking all about it as well. Like his, I think momentum is like building.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, like I said, I haven't seen the full series, so who knows if it's going to build up to the level of something like Batman. But it's like that. Like people are aware of his presence and they're aware of his capability and just messing up all of these things that the Russians and like the ring are doing and all of that.
As of right now, I would say this season and even in the series, they know of a Daredevil. They don't know necessarily his quote unquote capabilities, just because he has actually done, I guess, a great job of being, uh, I guess, discreet. You know, to where they know of a Daredevil, but like the only people that really, I guess, try to test it, of course, are who we would assume to be Wilson Fisk down the line, you know, and it's the people that Daredevil is like disrupting their business for, you know. So I wouldn't say it's as big as like let's say like a Batman, because Batman was known to everybody, good, bad, everybody, you know. But I think right now it's just specific parties throughout the whole series that know of Daredevil like that.
Sure. And it's like, I think the biggest thing is it's like there's a rumble happening. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
obviously like the big bads are noticing him enough that they're trying to capture him, right? That's how this happened in episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
But even like other parties that are not necessarily being attacked by Daredevil, like this woman in the ER, like places you wouldn't necessarily like, but there's it's kind of like word of mouth. Like things kind of travel. You know, like you have
Right.
this secret, like guardian in the night. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's cool to see it kind of building. And obviously, this is bringing more attention to him that maybe he wasn't really looking for. Like he didn't know that they were trying to trap him. He just heard someone screaming for help. You know, and he went on the scene. So it's just cool, and I think it's comparable. And like I said, I haven't seen the series to say, and I think Batman's just a bigger symbol in general, right? Even in like the real world, more people know who Batman is than Daredevil at this
Mm-hmm.
point, right? But it's comparable. You know what I mean? That little like that start, that flare,
But
that spark.
but that's what makes the joke even worse for me in terms of back to She-Hulk. The walk of shame. He's out in broad daylight walking barefoot as the Daredevil. Honestly, that scene really bothered me.
I hear it bothered a lot of people. I think me, I just thought it was really funny. And the thing is, like with She-Hulk and Daredevil, and it is important, right? Because this is the second appearance of Daredevil in the MCU, right? Because everything we're talking about is Netflix. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not the exact same Devil we're seeing in the MCU.
Right.
Um, but I think that what we got to see in She-Hulk, especially with what we are seeing now and what we know of Daredevil,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's that like that thing that like Deadpool says. It's like life is a shit show with a series of like commercial breaks of happiness,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was just his commercial break of happiness. And if we were to see something like that in like Daredevil Born Again, I would of course also be upset. But I think because it lives in this little pocket of like he just gets this moment where he gets to just pretend that he's in this like really perfect little healthy relationship. He's has these little soft moments and that's it. I don't know. Just because I don't think we're gonna see that in his series. That's why I'm okay with it, but I know you're not the only
Tell
one who's
me,
been upset by
tell
that.
me, tell me what makes more sense, right? Say this scene the way it was, or uh, instead of walking out in the Daredevil costume, he walks out as Matt Murdock, and I'm sure she has like a T-shirt and maybe like some sweats that he can walk out of instead of being in like Daredevil. He could just be like, "Oh, I'm just don't mind me, walk of shame, regular person here." You know what I'm saying?
I mean, realistically as we can get in the world of the MCU, that makes more sense. Like, why would you walk out barefoot as Daredevil? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a liability, sir. You know, so you're not wrong. That makes total sense. But it's about the comedic value. That was that for me. I thought it was funny, but I know for a lot of people it was disrespectful. You know, like I know that's like the word that has been thrown around. You know, how dare you? You know what I mean? And
How
so I
dare?
understand what you're saying.
Yes, yes, because this with all this comparison that we've been talking about this whole episode is just like Batman walks out of a girl's apartment building just in barefoot. He's the Dark
I would
Knight,
love
but
that.
he has a walk of shame, and he's like, I'm Batman. And he's like, you can't even talk to me in that dark voice at 8 a.m., sir. No, clear your throat. You know what I'm saying? Miss me.
It's just, I think because it lives in this little pocket of like the She-Hulk like um vibe, I'm okay with it, you know, because it's like it lives in that.
Okay.
But I understand the gripe because you're not the only one who has that gripe. Like I'm aware of it, and I can see how like this could be a disrespect to the character completely. I don't disagree, but I just think I can live with it because I'm kind of separating it in my mind, you know.
I'm just gonna say
If let's just say
Robot Kevin did that.
what was that?
Robot
Robot
Kevin
Kevin.
did that. Real Kevin
There
would
you
never.
go. But I mean, it's like once Daredevil Born Again comes out, I think it's going to be completely different
Sure.
than that. I think it's going to be more tuned to the Netflix series. Um, just because, like, I worried because the comments that were being made, like, oh, we're going to explore like a softer side of Daredevil, but I really think that was exclusively to She-Hulk. You know,
Yeah.
because we're not going to see that brutality in She-Hulk. It wouldn't mesh. You know, it's not his show, but it's very different when it is his. You know, and if let's just say that there is this lightheartedness in Daredevil Born Again, that is a problem because it doesn't belong there. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you. Wait, hold on. Let me actually look up What is the actual rating? Okay, so Netflix, the series is rated TVMA. So do you think Disney will make it TVMA as well?
It has to. I think we may have talked about this. Like, it has to, because I think the fans have a level of expectation of what Daredevil this character is. Why would you get the same exact actor, listening to the fans, but then not actually give us what we're asking for in that extent? So it's gonna have to be TVMA, and like it's I think going to have to even surpass what like Netflix has done, because they have they have something like they have big shoes to fill in that sense. Netflix did great with the Daredevil series. People loved it. He's a fan favorite, which is why he's coming back. So I feel like it's gonna have to match up, and I think the fact also that they're doing the like Daredevil Born Again like storyline, they can do a lot to live up to the Netflix series, if not surpass it. But I think they can only do it if it's TVMA.
Yeah, it's like I would love for it to be TVMA, um, especially if eventually down the line, even though it's not announced and we won't get it for another 10 years, if even if Ryan Reynolds is still playing Daredevil or I mean Deadpool at that point, but eventually what the fans want, we want to see. I forgot what the team is called. It's Red Team or some shit. It's like him, Daredevil, and Spider Man. What's it called?
I have it like on the tip of my tongue, but I'm not gonna remember. I know what you're talking about. I'm looking it up right now. So you continue.
So like keeping Daredevil at TVMA on Disney, like they would have to only if they keep Deadpool at rated R. If Deadpool eventually comes down to Disney as a PG-13, then I don't see Daredevil becoming TVMA.
I believe they announced that Deadpool would be rated R. And so if like say, I think, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like I think those things would have to line up in order for them to give us like the kind of film we want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of cool because if we do get to this, which I feel like they would, because we already had like a soft Tom Holland, I'm sorry, not Tom, Peter Parker and Matt Murdock team up. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So I feel like that alone is a tease of that. And I think they're just referred to as Team Red. I
Okay.
think. Yeah. But I think if they do give this to us, let's say Daredevil Born Again has the TVMA rating, Deadpool has like the rated R rating or TVMA if it's a show. I'm not too sure. I think it's a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think also because we're exploring with like an older Peter Parker, I feel like he could blend into that like older and more like mature rating. You know what I mean?
How old do you think Tom Holland is gonna play Peter Parker until? Do you think we're gonna get eventually like yeah, he's set for another 3 movies of Spider-Man. Do you think it's gonna be like a grown man Spider-Man? Because if I guess by that time he can fit in with Matt Murdock and Deadpool, but I, I, I don't know. Do you think they're gonna go the old man route, or do you think they're just
I
going to
mean, he
retire
doesn't even
Tom
need to
Holland and
be
bring in
old
like,
man.
huh?
Yeah, he doesn't even need to be old man, I think, to play the role. And I think even like the age range that he's at, like he's in his college years. You know what I mean?
So he
Um,
may be 18 as opposed to these grown men, that are they could be in their 30s at this point. So who knows? I don't know.
I feel like they could mesh because it's like, I mean, you look at Iron Man and Peter Parker. Like, I think the age gap is a little bit bigger between the two,
Uh huh.
and so then like it's more of a father son role. But I feel like if it was him like at this age range, like college years, right, Tom Holland, because we at least know we're gonna get him for 3 other films, and he kind of shares the screen with Daredevil and Deadpool. I feel like the dynamic would be similar to Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales in Into the Spideyverse. You
Mm,
know what I mean? And I think that was a fun dynamic. So like I wouldn't say it's not possible. I feel like that would be a funny dynamic to work with, even that.
yeah.
And in terms of like how long is Tom Holland gonna play the role, I have a feeling these 3 are gonna be his last ones. I have a feeling. What do you think? Like, do you have thoughts on that?
I don't know. We've never gone beyond 3 Spider-Man movies. So Tom Holland is the first on screen Spider Man to now. He's already had 3 movies, and we're just gonna see where he goes. Like he has the option to just be like, you know what, I don't want to play. I don't want to play
He
Spider Man
does.
anymore. You know.
He does. And that's the thing. Like I think for me, I never want to get to a point where I'm like, I no longer want to see a Spider-Man film. Or I
Mm-hmm.
no longer want to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man. You know, you never want to get to that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I rather them end it when I'm still wanting a little bit more, but they've been able to, close off whatever story they're building for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they might be able to do it in 3 films. Sadly, I feel like if they do more, I don't know. It's just that's a whole other conversation.
Well, within that conversation, before we get back to Daredevil, because we're almost done with episode 2, do you think him and MJ get married?
As in like this MJ that we've met and
Mm-hmm.
this Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
Not in these 3 films. Not in these upcoming 3. I don't
Wow.
think so.
Do you think she'll
They get married in
remember?
the comics? Yes, they do. But I don't think we'd see it in these 3 films.
Do you think she remembers who it was before the memory erase? Do you think she'll eventually come back to that?
I hope so. I hope so. Like, I mean, I feel like we have to believe that in a sense because it's like they're not just gonna not continue stories with MJ and Ned, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So something's gonna happen. I think obviously in like the next movie that we see them in, where either they just have to believe Peter
Mm-hmm.
and something happens to kind of give them validity in that story,
Yeah.
or something that happens that gives them their memory back. Because so in and this is way far off and I don't know if it's going to be connected, but like Ned, for example, because he becomes
The Hobgoblin.
yes, the Hobgoblin, and like kind of what happens is like he gets like brainwashed to believe that he was the Hobgoblin, so then becomes it. But then the brainwashing gets like, you know, he gets fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. In my head, for some reason, I'm thinking that their brainwashing, right, to believe that Peter Parker it doesn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
might get washed away. I think.
Okay. I'm all for it. We're just spouting out possibilities, people.
We have
Um.
outlined the next 10 years of Matt Murdock in the MCU. You're welcome.
Yep. Yep.
We've outlined like 7 movies for you guys just now.
We weren't there at the Marvel camp a couple months back, but we didn't need to be. We're writing our own stories here.
And as you see from She-Hulk, they listen
Yep,
to
yep,
us.
they hear us, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? They could just honestly be like, okay, new ideas. Let me go to YouTube right now, youtube.com/the Comic Cinematic Universe, and just hear what Chill and Grace have to say, is whether if it's like the stain or just some good points that they want to put out. They're hearing us out, and then they're actually adding some of the things that we've kind of been chatting about. So we're just going to continue to map out the MCU, you know, for the rest of eternity, for as long as it's a thing. And then, yeah, DCEU, being that, I would say, Gun, my man, you know, we loved you over there in Marvel, you over here. But, you know, now, I think it's time you start paying attention as well, my man.
Oh, he's been paying attention,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think the DCU is going to be like firing these movies out like hotcakes and like quality. I'm excited.
We won't get any good. I would say these hotcakes, they're gonna come in 2024, like, because 2023 is a wrap. Because if we were to get anything, I think everything would have been announced
Yeah.
this year. We have no idea what the deal is with Aquaman or the Flash, and Wonder Woman just made low key just be done after that one.
After the last
This is
movie.
like this is like we're cool. Just keep her in the Justice League, and then we'll figure it out.
I mean, we've talked about it. DC's had like, I think if the things were released the way they wanted it to, I really do think Aquaman and The Flash would have been amazing. Obviously, because of things outside, they had to change things in the films.
Yeah.
I hope that they still maintain what they wanted to do. Just based off what we've seen so far from DC that has been released this year, it's all been hit, you know?
Yeah.
And so I hope that when Aquaman does come out, it's as good as they originally planned. And then, I mean, who knows what they're going to do with The Flash? Like, they might just scrap it. You know that they're not, I don't know. But there's so much good stuff that was supposed to happen. So,
They
rants
gave
for
us a
days.
trailer. You can't just pull out after giving us like like a teaser. Come on. Like you can't. You got to give us
Something.
another bad movie. You know what I'm saying? Like
Just do
if it's
it.
unfinished, just release it, just so we can just be done with it. Rip the band-aid.
I'm good. I'm done with that. Just
Yeah.
rip the band-aid, dude. Just give it. Just give it. It's done. We know it's edited. You
Right.
know it's set. So, but yeah, like I think, like you said, like 2024, I cannot wait for like the next Comic Con or even like the following maybe once like things are actually starting to get built up for the DCU.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I can't.
Okay. Last little DC rant before we wrap up episode 2. I know, I'm sorry, y'all. We're on a tangent again, but Super Bowl January. Do you think we will get DC trailers for the Super Bowl?
Ooh. I don't know because don't they do when is like for example when is the fandom? Isn't that December or January?
DC fandom. I
Because I
believe
feel like
that's
it's around that time, I think.
uh they only have 2021 on up on their website. So, is there a DC fandom 2022? Choose virtual. However, it's been canceled in 2022. Damn. So the next one would be 2023. So
They have
maybe
things to work out,
December of
guys.
next year. Yeah, after all of everything that's going off in the back office of DC, they're just like, I'm sorry, y'all. We actually overshot DC fandom 2021 and gave y'all a bunch of trailers that we weren't ready to give y'all. You know what I'm saying? And we're still not ready. So we'll see you next year.
In that case, I don't even think we're gonna get anything for the Super Bowl. Not from DC. I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. Give them their time. The fans understand. They're going through a lot.
It doesn't matter. Marvel's going to continue to win. Thank you, Marvel, for having your shit together.
It's a back and forth. They're battling out. They're doing their best, and
Mm-hmm.
the fans win
Yep.
because we just get like I'm telling you, it's like when you have like divorced parents, Marvel DC, right? Like they're trying to win the love and affection of the children, which is us.
Yeah.
So then they just give us all these movies, all this content.
Yep. Um. Okay. So Daredevil, we left off at staircase. After the staircase,
We talked about the roof scene.
yeah. And then, so now we're going after the child, and we're going into the hallway scene that we brought up. And this, like I said, is what sold me on the Daredevil, because I think the time that this series initially came out, I think this was one of those they put it all out at once. I think that's what Netflix is known for. And I maybe binged the first couple, and then in watching it, I was like, oh shit, like he's not only giving beatings, he's taking beatings as well. It's like, and it's rare we get to see uh these quote unquote superheroes kind of fight through what they got to fight through, even though they're uh taking big hits as well. And then like in this hallway scene, it's like one against, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 dudes. He of course can hear everybody, basically see everybody in whatever room they're in this little corridor or hallway or whatnot. So he's like he walks up, creeps up slowly, then attacks the first group of men. The other group of men in the room across the hall hears the commotion, and then they enter the fight. But like with all of that, it's not only just the fighting. The one thing I loved about this scene was whoever was the cameraman, they had to like get out of the way. They're like, all right, we're just gonna pan over here while this guy goes flying, and then we're gonna turn this way while Matt Murdock comes. It was crazy how they shot that. So shout out to whoever was like the camera director, or even if it was the director, who did that scene.
I mean, it was coordinated so well. The choreography of just like the fight scenes were so perfect. And like you said, I think um it's nice when you see a superhero with flaws. And I don't want to say that like him also taking beatings are flaws, but like something that makes him a little bit more human, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a street level like hero. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's easy to do that, which is why I feel like so many people root for him. And yes, he's taking on like 8, 9 guys. He's taking beatings as much as he's giving. And he has like 3 broken ribs, guys, and a
Mm-hmm.
puncture wound and a concussion that basically disoriented him, like we saw. And so it's very comparable to the kind of what we were talking about in episode 1 with the seat fights he had with this one super like elite martial artist, you know? It's like I don't know, it's exactly with like the flashbacks have been showing, like, you know, the Murdoch men get knocked down, but they do come back up, you know. And so it's you can easily see how he built such a huge fan base, you know,
Mm-hmm.
back in 2015 that still like roars today, like so much so that they brought him into the MCU. You know, he's the first one that's been pulled from the Netflix series, you know.
And he can be the last one too. We don't need any
I
other.
don't hear a lot of call for the other ones. I don't like.
We don't honestly like after my prediction went wrong in Shang-Chi in terms of me thinking that there was an Iron Fist over there, just from the colorways that they gave us. I wouldn't be mad if they just never gave us another Iron Fist. It's cool. It's all good. Just give us Shang-Chi because I'm sure by now, by watching these episodes of us, I'm just highly just a big fan of choreography, like Grace just said, and we don't need that from Danny Rand. Being that you're giving us Daredevil and now we got Shang Chi, the martial arts fight scenes for now, not the CG, but the martial arts fight scenes, I feel are covered with just those two.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I think with Spider Man, especially in No Way Home, we got some decent choreography, but of course we know a lot of that was CG. So we can take all of that with Spider Man. He can have that. I'm happy with that. But in terms of just like street level hand to hand combat, I think we're good. We're covered. We don't need the Iron Fist.
See, I don't think I need it from the Iron Fist. I will say though, I think that this kind of choreography, I mean, we saw it in Shang-Chi also, but I would even say like No Way Home has little glimpses of things like that where it's not the CG stuff, but like I'm thinking of the scene where Peter Parker is fighting the Green Goblin inside like the building.
Mm-hmm.
That scene was really well orchestrated, and it
Mm-hmm.
goes through like different levels of like floors, and it like it's impactful, like the way that they do it, like you feel every punch. It's not
Right.
like a martial arts scene like in Shang-Chi, it's very different, but you feel like a different level of like
Like physicality or something like that.
yeah, like brutality, force, strength, and it's something that I hope they do kind of bleed into other films as we go forward. Multiverse of Madness, like they have like this one scene between Doctor Strange and Mordo in like they're both in like these bands that don't allow them to have power, so they kind of result into just having this like martial art scene that was really good, brief, you know, but it was good. And so I do hope that they give us more of these kinds of things, even with say heroes that are much more above ground level, you know, like they don't need to necessarily go fist to fist, but I hope they dabble in that throughout, just because I think it's easy to get lost in the like fireworks and flashes.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's like these are the things that ground us, you know, and I think connect us to the characters and other levels. That's why we talk about it, because it feels good, because it's easy for you to kind of pretend you are them. It's like when you watch these movies about like boxers and stuff, you walk out and you think you can kick anybody's ass. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing that I think riles people up, you know?
I think honestly, the only projects coming up that are gonna touch the topic that we're talking about is, of course, the next Daredevil. The Thunderbolts are going to be on that because every single one of the Thunderbolts that we know of right now is that they're all just elite hand to hand.
Oh,
Uh,
that's gonna be a good film.
and I would even include maybe Ghost that from Ant Man and the Wasp. I think she was pretty good hand to hand. We're not going to see much. Well, I can't say, but like I swore either Janet Van Dyne either took her powers or kind of healed her from like flashing or whatnot. So I don't know if we're gonna get much power there, but I think she may be the only one to really display like powers per se. And then Blade would fall under that realm as well.
Oh yeah, like I think, and I feel like all of the scenes, the choreography, even with like the more fantastical ones,
Mm-hmm.
like I think when it's done well, it's just it hits good. That's all I want. I just want more of these scenes, you know?
Yeah, more of honestly, if we can get the Winter Soldier back in here, like we kind of
Oh
talked
my
about
god, I
before,
can't wait.
if we can get like more of that type of choreography, that would be dope.
Ugh. I'm telling you, I think Thunderbolts is going to be, well, first of all, because Thunderbolts is the first, at least that we know of, it's going to be the next time that we see, I think, Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And like we spoke of previously with Bucky, he has gone over like that threshold of him walking the line of like, am I the Winter Soldier? Am I Bucky? Like, kind of like his little moral dilemma that he's been having ever since, you know, the brainwashing was cleansed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now he's in a place where if it calls to it, he's able to actually do what we saw in like um Captain America and the Winter Soldier, like that kind of choreography, and I'm excited for it. And then like oh, and then we have Yelena Belova. It's gonna be such a good movie. I'm excited. We've been everywhere today, dude. Like, do you see how like this is why this means something for us to just break down Daredevil, even though it's Netflix and it's not necessarily related directly. I feel like it brings up a lot of themes that penetrate the entire fandom in different movies, you know?
Definitely. Just because like you said, it's it's characteristics like this that would keep us grounded from the super stylized fantasy of like everything else. You know, it doesn't all have to be like mystical or like intergalactic or anything like that. Like if we can get some like just some down to earth uh people who know how to kick some butt and they fight other people who know how to kick some butt and it's just becomes like a dance of two fighters trying to best one another, you know? It's just that type of stuff for me, being that you and I would say we were practitioners of a martial art, you know, that's the type of stuff that we appreciate.
Oh yeah. And it's like and I think watching this right now, obviously this is like a decade ago. It's wild to kind of think about it. Um I'm excited for what this next phase of Marvel's going to bring. I've talked about it a lot. Like I really think this next phase is going to pack a punch,
Mm-hmm.
literally, figuratively, and I think a big part of it is the fight scenes, you
Mm-hmm.
know? We've laid out a lot of characters. I think taken a lot of time to kind of mold these characters out, and so now I think it's time to bring them back into something that's a little closer to like the quote unquote superhero formula. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But something that's a little bit more familiar. But now with these characters that we've been really able to flesh out through series and things like that. And so I hope that that means that things like this are going to come back up again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Um oh, I'm sorry. Back to Daredevil. I'm sorry. I think after the hallway scene, he gets the boy, and then the episode ends. So that was actually we kind of wrapped episode two. It's just the hallway scene kind of took the whole episode for me.
And you know what I love about the hallway scene? Of course, all the things we just talked about, but I love how you have Daredevil, and then once he gets to the boy, and you don't see him, you just kind of see him talking to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's just so sweet, you know, and he's just like, you know, like we're gonna take you home to your dad. Like he's so not intimidating, like he's so approachable in that sense.
Well, he took
But
his
at the
mask
same
off. You
time,
know, it'd be scary if
yeah,
he came with his mask down. You know, so yeah.
it's just it's kind of it gives me like Spider-Man vibes. I'm thinking of the Andrew Garfield one where he saves the kid from like the car that just like flung off the side of like the bridge.
Right.
And he takes off his mask. He's like, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy. And he gives the mask to the kid and he pulls him out of the car. Like, I feel like it's very similar to that, where you can't help but fall in love with these characters, you know? And so I like that. And I think it's really cool that we left off with something like this that almost contrasts so well, like the fight scene and then him, you know, finally getting to the kid. And then in episode 3, where I feel like Matt goes back and forth in his own like moral dilemma, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so I think it's a cool bridge going into it.
Yeah. Um. So are we touching episode 3? Do you want to kind of tap into that or no?
We get to. How do you feel? How do you feel?
Just because, like I said, I kind of skimmed through it, and I skimmed through it to the point to where, like, I took a majority of the main key elements because honestly, this is maybe the third time around of watching this episode. So, I took what I took, and it starts out with I'll call him an assassin, right? And the assassin, he takes out this one I guess mobster that's bowling. It's kind of brutal in there, but he, instead of running, he kind of turns himself in, and right then and there you kind of figure that something's off, just because um, who would stay at a crime scene like that, you know? So right then and there, it's just like, all right, I don't know, this dude is type crazy, but who knows? He may think that he's invincible. So, like, he hid his gun under the pinball machine and then just kind of went straight to jail, basically. And that was that story. Like, we got more of everybody else up until I forgot. Do you know the lawyer's name with the glasses? And we're not talking Matt Murdock. We're talking about the opposition.
See, I didn't get to there. I think I watched this and I thought I watched.
Oh my goodness. He may have
Um,
been in the first. Maybe let me check and see if he was in the first episode. Did you
first
remember
episode.
seeing like a lawyer with glasses in the first episode?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
Not that I can remember.
Okay.
I will say what I do like about this episode that I did like from the what I did see is that I feel like this episode is very much kind of like an episode of Law and Order in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's very much laid out in that way. Because when you watch Law and Order, it's like you almost like see parts of the crime happen. You see like you know what I mean? Like you see something like almost in the midway, and then it cuts to the intervention of like the special victims unit or whatever the case may be. You know, and so I feel like it's laid out very similarly. This guy that is, do we have his name? I don't think I wrote it down.
Which guy?
The guy, like the guy that you refer to as like the assassin.
Uh.
I'd say he's more of a hitman. I feel like
Okay.
assassin is too big a title to give to this guy. But this guy is like weird. Like from what I saw, like he has such like psychopathic behavior because he doesn't have any sense, I think, of like I did something wrong. And he's so cocky in like the courtroom.
Yeah.
Or not the courtroom, I'm sorry, but when he's talking to Matt and Foggy, like he's very controlling of the room. Uses vocabulary that suggests that he has done this before, and he's just overly confident, to like with what they have in terms of like evidence and like what they're kind of piecing together for the story. It's like this guy should not be as comfortable as he is, but he's very comfortable.
Right, and I remember seeing him because I found him. His name in the show is John Healy, and the other person I was talking about, his name's Wesley. But like John Healy, I like the idea of calling him. I think Hitman serves better, but I mean just from even kind of going towards the end of the episode, did you? I mean, I know you didn't finish it, but did you see the fight scene between him and Daredevil? Spoiler alert.
No.
Spoiler alert. Okay, so that happened in episode 3, guys. We'll get to that maybe next time we talk Daredevil. But he
Yes,
is
next time.
he
Like
is
the next episode, yeah.
wait, next episode is Black Panther, right?
No, I thought you meant like the next time we talk about Daredevil, we'll probably talk
Oh,
about
okay.
episode
No,
three. And I
no,
was
I'm
like, of
talking
course we're
about
gonna talk about
the next
episode 3.
episode
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Us. But yeah, he is a skilled martial artist as well. So that's why I was just like, that's why I called him an assassin. But I'll take Hitman just because I don't know. He has the Hitman look, you know. I don't know. I don't know
He
how to
does
call it.
though. Like he does. Like there's something about the like I don't know. He doesn't give me the I want to use like the word swagger that
The
that an
Hitman swag.
assassin has.
The Hitman swag.
You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't have like the assassin kind of vibe. Like he just yeah. I don't know what it is. But I mean I haven't seen that scene, but I guess like that'll give me a better idea of what I lean on, but I think Hitman stands.
Is John Wick? Is he an assassin or a hitman?
See, he's cool enough to be an assassin. Like
Wow.
that's what I don't know. I feel like I would use that word. Yes.
Okay. Even though they technically do the same thing.
I know, but I don't know what it is then. Maybe this guy just doesn't look cool enough. Is it like I don't know what
It's
it
the
is.
swag, and
It's
he
the
doesn't
swag.
have
That's what I'm saying. You
that
can't call
assassin
it. You
swag, I
can't point
guess.
to it. But there's just some like like speakable thing that just like you know when you know.
Okay. What time? An hour 15. I gotta clip it. The Hitman swag. Hmm.
If you have it, you have it. You know, it's just like it's you can't always call on it, but it's like you know when you see it.
If you look, you know what? No, I'm not even gonna touch that because that just seems kind of wrong. But it just seems like the way we're breaking down Hitman, even though what was it? What did we just watch when there was a breakdown between like it was like Henchman
Henchmen,
and
and I was thinking the same thing. Henchmen and goons. Is it goons? No.
Goons? I think if we were to like here we go with the hierarchy. Let's say S tier is assassin, A tier is hitman, B tier. Which one gets paid for the services?
They both get paid, I think.
But one of them like they have a mission where the other one just does it just to
Oh,
do it.
hold on. I found something that mentions both of them. So I'm just going to read it. I
Okay.
have this is the first time reading it, but
Okay.
it mentions both. So is there a difference between a hitman and an assassin? A hitman is someone who is paid to take a person's life, paid for by a criminal or political organization.
Mm-hmm.
An assassin is the murderer of someone who kills for religious or political purposes. Hmm. They aren't necessarily paid to do so, the assassins. So hitman has to be paid.
Oh no. I mean, the way you kind of broke it down, I'm kind of just thinking about previous movies of like having an assassin, and I'm just like, was there money involved, or was it just like they just did it because they didn't like what the other person was saying? I don't
See,
know.
because of the nature of our job, we have to be this nitpicky of these terms. You know, we have to like it makes sense, you know?
Hitmen, assassins, henchmen,
And
and goons.
mercenaries. And then there's mercenaries over here too.
But mercenaries are they're soldiers of fortune, so they're soldiers, but they do it for the money. That's what mercenaries are.
Oh,
That's
and
what
you know
makes them
something?
different from military.
Okay. And there's something that like for some reason it's a highlight under mercenary, which is that they actually feel something after taking a life. Like they're not necessarily emotionally disconnected. Like this guy that we're talking about, like we're between his saying hitman and assassin,
Mm-hmm.
leaning more towards hitman, but he definitely wouldn't be a mercenary.
No, well, if he I don't remember this in the episode, but if they were to say he had a military background, then he would be categorized as a mercenary.
Would he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So many questions. The technical, but you know what? I find it really interesting. Like these technicalities, like it's interesting to me.
Yep.
We will
It's
continue.
cool, even though we're talking about one guy. This one guy could fall under an umbrella of just different categories, you know. But say here, where did you get up to in episode 3 before I spoil
And
anything else?
episode 3, let's see. Pretty much after. Oh, hold on. I didn't take notes all the way through from where I watched, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure specifically where. I know I had watched all the way through when they are talking to the hitman,
Mm-hmm.
and then the conversation that Matt had with Foggy afterwards, because he's like, I'm sorry that I've been like, I kind of took the lead and things like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's as much as I saw.
So you
It
didn't
might have
see
been
the
something after,
verdict.
I didn't register it.
You
What
didn't
was
see
that?
the verdict in the courtroom.
No, I did not.
Okay, so you maybe made it halfway through. Low
Dang.
key.
In my head, I was like, I almost finished.
Okay, so I think right here is a great stopping point.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Because I don't want to freestyle it. If we're gonna dive in, and we will, just to kind of talk a little bit more. I do want to talk that fight scene with you. So we'll chat about it more the next time we talk about Daredevil. But and then there's something specific that happens. I don't know if it's at the end, but it's going towards the end. That is kind of like, it's a major part in the whole series. So I guess we'll chat about it
Okay. I
the
appreciate
next time.
you wanting to not rob me of that moment.
Yeah,
Really
I
great.
already robbed you of the fight scene. So
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's totally fine. But
yeah.
that sounds really good.
Okay.
Question.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you have your tickets for Black Panther yet?
Yeah, but I may not be able to see it.
What do you mean?
Because I bought my ticket maybe 2 weeks ago, and I told you I started a new part time, and I haven't got my part time schedule yet. So
You could risk it.
yeah, like, and it's to the point to where if I gotta work, like Yadir is telling me, she's like, "Oh, cool, well, I'll go see it." You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't blame her.
she's like, "Oh, I'll just give your ticket to somebody else." I'm like,
She's not in the wrong. I'm just saying. I'm
oh
just
man. So yeah, I do have my ticket for Thursday at 3 p.m. And yeah, hopefully I don't work that day. And two, the one of the reasons, aside from the story and wanting to see it, is the person that gave me the information on the Midnight Angels that I told you about.
yes. Yeah.
He actually plays a stuntman in this, so I'm wondering if I'm gonna see
Oh,
his
that's so cool.
face in it. So
That's exciting. Well, if you do get to watch it on Thursday, we'll be breaking it down on Friday,
mm-hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
Did you get to hear? I know you have Rihanna's new song.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I get to say that is just lovely.
Have you heard
When was
Rihanna?
the last time she released a song?
A song of her own 6 years ago.
Dude.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I love that. Well, first of all, I think we had spoken about it because there was rumors that Rihanna and I think also, what's his name? I'm like blanking, but
ASAP?
what was that?
ASAP? Rocky?
No. But anyways, I had heard the rumor that Rihanna was going to have a song in the film, and I'm so happy that that rumor was true. Because first of all, like Rihanna hasn't put out anything in like 6 years, so I love how like the first time we're hearing something new from her is in something so epic and like huge as Black Panther 2. You know what I mean?
I think that's what they needed. They needed, like, say the first soundtrack for the first movie. It was good. A lot of songs were super like anthemic that everybody like sang on and everything like that. But being that this is like a movie kind of almost mourning the loss of Chadwick Boseman, they needed to change the style of the music and give us the energy to make us feel emotional. And I'm not gonna lie, first listen, heartstrings were pulled, and it's rare that music does that, but Rihanna, thank you, you did that. You definitely
Dude,
did that.
it's so beautiful. Like I don't know why, but like when I listen to it, it makes me think of Avatar.
Mm.
I don't know why. I can't remember the music from Avatar, like the soundtrack, the
Mm-hmm.
score,
Mm-hmm.
but for some reason when I listen to it, that's what it reminds me of, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's as audibly beautiful as Avatar is visually. Maybe that's
I like that comparison. I do.
it's no, it's good. So I'm like not ready. I'm not ready to go see it. But I got tickets for Thursday and I got tickets for Friday after the show also.
Okay. If if I don't see it at 3, I'm gonna make my way into like they got like 2 a.m. showings. I'm gonna see it
Do
before our
they?
show, so I'm gonna.
Do they really?
Yeah, they do. So it
Oh my
doesn't
god.
even matter. I will be in the theater maybe until 5 a.m. if I have to see this before our Friday show.
This is what we do. This is our
The sacrifice. You know
this is the
what
sacrifice we
I'm saying? I do this for y'all. No, I do it for myself, but I actually want to get this out there for y'all by next Friday just because it's fresh and new, you know. I don't want to wait a week just because I know it's going to be a lot to digest. We're going to see a whole bunch of course, tribute to Chadwick. We're getting new Namor action, like Atlanteans, and we're getting, hopefully, I'm hoping we get the prediction that we made last week in terms of something in relation to adamantium. I'm hoping. I'm crossing my fingers for that.
The softest of mentions. The
Yes.
softest of
Mm-hmm.
mention. I think that um because it's gonna be so emotional, like we have to do it almost immediately just for it to be so raw and
Mm-hmm.
real. I feel like I'm gonna cry on screen with you guys in talks of it because we've been waiting for it and we know the weight behind it, like inside and outside of the film and the
Mm-hmm.
fandom, everything. If this film doesn't do it, it's gonna be like, I swear to you, with some of the films coming out just in like the handful of months, like Guardians and all the others, it's inevitable. Grace is gonna cry on screen. Be ready, chill. I'm
You're
telling you
gonna
now.
cry like talking about it. I can see you crying like watching it. I
Oh,
teared
I
up
can
with Tony
easily cry
Stark took
talking
that
about
L,
it.
but like
I
talking
can
about it.
easily cry talking about it. Like I remember, I who did I have like the first conversation with after watching like Spider Man or something? Like I don't know what it was, but it's like I can easily like cry talking about these things
Okay.
easily. Watch me. This
Well,
is how much I love the. I love this.
it's like okay, all right. Okay, but yeah, that is the plan for next week. We're gonna do Black Panther recap. We'll do our spoiler free at the beginning like we normally do, and then tune out if you haven't seen it after that. We'll let you know. We'll give you forewarning when to tune out. And yeah, I think that's it. We were successful in talking about Daredevil episode 2, not so successful talking about episode 3, but we'll get there no matter what. We have plenty of filler time to talk about it.
We have plenty of time. We got like 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So that was the episode, guys. We will catch you all next Friday and have a great weekend.
Farewell, guys.
Bye, Grace.
Bye.